It is great to have y'all here this morning. I am happy to be here. So, as tends to happen, new year means new resolutions and new things going on. I can't move this with one hand. And so we start these things out. And a lot of times, some people get in the mindset, I've done the resolution thing. I'm one of those people. I break it by March, and I just can't seem to follow through. So I'm done with resolutions. I'm just going to try to make a commitment, try to make a change. And I get that. There's some of you, though, you make one resolution, and that is your mindset for the whole year. Must do, got to complete, must get done. I get it. I'm kind of that driven person. Once I say I'm going to do something, it pretty well happens. My mom says I'm stubborn in that way, so I guess it can be used in a positive way. But for a lot of us, resolutions become very hard because a lot of times it's something that we choose to challenge ourselves with to try to complete for that year. I know some of you, I've even seen you've devoted yourself to read the Bible through this year. I think that's a great thing. That's an encouraging thing. It's a very hard thing to do sometimes. If you're like me and reading is not what you're best at, it can become difficult to sit and read big chunks like that. Some other people I've heard say, I'm not dedicating to reading it through in a year. I'm just dedicating to read each day. I want to be in His Word each day. I think that's amazing. Some of you may be more like me, where you're making a physical change. Mine did not start at New Year's. Most of you know I started my journey at the very end of October. Trying to get healthier, trying to get at a place where I'm not going to fall over if I, run a yard. I meant to say 100 yards, but that made it a little funnier because running a yard is like a step. It's like, I'm done. I started that journey, and it's not that I haven't had missteps. It's not that I haven't had mishaps. It's not that it's been a perfect journey, but it is a journey. And so as I've been thinking about this and praying about this and trying to decide what is on my heart right now to share with this congregation, the word endurance or the word perseverance is what kept coming back to mind. Because for every single one of us, whether it's something we've intentionally decided to do here at this new year, if it's something that came into our life over maybe this past summer, maybe it's something that just occurred to you over this last week of something you need to work on, something you need to change, something that you need to be fighting and digging for. The word endurance and the word persevere has to be in our vocabulary. The reason why I also think it's important to bring this up is I want you to think about the world that we live in today. I jokingly named it InstaWorld because that's kind of where we're at now. Everything is instant. Everything is fast. Everything is I need it on demand, going back to some of our television phrases. A lot of you can remember when microwaves first became a thing. I remember my parents were so excited. It was one of their wedding presents to get a microwave. And I promise you, they had that thing over 25 years. I mean, it just lasted. My mom jokingly, when they finally got rid of it, said we probably have radiation poisoning because we have one of the oldest microwaves still in existence. I don't know if that's true. I guess we'll find out. But the world began to change. You weren't putting a pot on the stove and letting it boil. You started just throwing the water in the microwave. In this journey I've been on, I don't have to sit and cut up broccoli pieces, put them in a pot with some water and some butter and some salt, set them on the stove and wait. Y'all know what I do? I get one of those frozen bags. You just pop those steamable bags in and you open it up and you just scoop it out and it's like ready to go. Like it's one of the greatest things ever. There is so much less time put into that. Fast food. When you're out and you're about, but you're like quick, these road trips, there's no need to go sit in a restaurant and wait another hour and a half just to get your food and to sit and to do. Man, you are driving through McDonald's. We did this on our honeymoon. We're like, nah, we are on the road. We're driving through McDonald's. What an awesome honeymoon, right? And we're just going to get back to it. We're just going to keep going. We're going to keep driving. Fast, instant, email. You didn't have to send a letter. You didn't have to wait for a transaction to occur. You could email somebody, and it was there. To the point that we are today with smartphones, smart watches, I don't even have to pull my phone out to see who's calling anymore. I can just be like, oh, ignore. Just kidding. I don't ignore your calls. We can see what people are doing, and let's preface that with saying what they choose to show us they're doing on social media. I mean, there's literally an app called Instagram. It's instantly there for you to see. It's instantly there for you to post about. To the point that we even have things called Instapot. You want to just throw everything together and it's instantly prepared, and honestly I haven't used one, but they seem very adamant about this is your Insta helper. Everything is just right there. So if we are getting into this system, if we're getting into this mindset that things need to be fast, things need to be instant, I want to ask you today, how do you view the troubles in your life? Should they be fixed instantly? How many diets have we seen? Lose such and such weight in 30 days. How many self-help books have you seen marketed and they put them out there and say, read this book and it will immediately change your outlook on life. It'll immediately change your problems. You seen them? Have you bought into them? For a time, it may help. For a time, it may be better. For a time, you may lose that X amount of weight. But for a change to occur, for something to be set, habits have to be built. Now, I will say, I truly believe Christ can come in and he can whirlwind change our lives. But it doesn't change the fact that we will continuously be pelted by the enemy. There's a reason why Ephesians, Paul talks about at the end of it in chapter 6, that we need a spiritual armor because there are flaming arrows flying at us. And if we can't endure that, if we don't have the mindset to persevere through that, if we just live in our Insta world, are we going to be able to change? I have some verses for y'all, and I want to hit on them and touch on them, and then we will land hearing from Christ himself. Look at James chapter 1. James chapter 1. And I'm going to read verse 12. Blessed is the man who remains steadfast under trial. For when he has stood the test, he will receive the crown of life, which God has promised to those who love him. Listen to it again. Blessed is the man who remains steadfast under trial. For when he has stood the test, he will receive the crown of life, which God has promised to those who love him. Anybody ever been under trial? Maybe you had your character put on blast. Maybe you've had some sort of test that has come in that has just been chipping away at you. It can become hard. It can become very challenging to keep getting up when you just keep getting knocked back down. And then that can become very literal where you just start asking yourself these questions. How can I get up and face another day of this? Work, it just pelts me every day. These people, they attack me every day. This sin attacks me every day. Don't give up. Keep moving. Steadfast is the word chosen here in this translation. But at the end of the verse it says, you will receive the crown of life, which has been a promise to those who love God. Look at Galatians. Galatians 6. Galatians 6:9 tells us, "And let us not grow weary of doing good, for in due season we will reap if we do not give up." A lot of times, and media even kind of perpetuates this thought, that the good guy sometimes doesn't always finish first. I mean, I am not a sports guy. I'm not going to stand up here and pretend to be one. I can get by with maybe talking a little bit of sports talk. But I do listen to talk radio. I'm weird that way. I prefer it over music right now. And I listen to one of the sports stations here in the Metroplex. And so I've been hearing a lot about this Astros drama. If you're an Astros fan, I'm not here to belittle you or your team. But man, they're getting pelted right now, time and time again. To be an Astros fan, you're probably getting attacked time and time again. And this idea that to keep going and to keep chucking can become hard. Because the motto I've heard from a lot of people, not just athletes, even students, if you're not cheating, you're not what? Trying. That's what the world's telling us right now. Man, they were just trying really hard. They came up with a great system. It worked. Students do it all the time. I remember when we had mechanical pencils that were the bigger ones, clear, they would write really tiny and then put it around the outside rim, and they'd have the answers. So many of my friends cheated on their chemistry tests doing this, just matching up the symbols, the abbreviation to the compound. Because they wanted the A. They were trying really hard, right? Look at 6:9 again. "And let us not grow weary of doing good." I want to tell y'all, cheating, the easy way, if we don't want to use that word cheating, the easy way, what is quick, what is instant, can benefit you in the moment. I am not going to stand up here and lie to you guys and say it will not benefit you. It honestly can, and it honestly will. But the easy way does not benefit you long term. Taking every intentional step to do good and to continue to do good and to continue to be thoughtful and to endure and to proceed forward, it will be what gets you where you want to go. I know the world around us does things differently. I know the world around us is thinking differently. I understand that it can be hard and tiring. But there's a good thing about something that is hard. There's a good thing about something that takes extra work. There is a greatness to needing to persevere. Look at Romans 5. Romans 5. And we are going to start reading at verse 3. Romans 5, verse 3. Paul says, "More than that, we rejoice in our sufferings, knowing that suffering produces endurance, and endurance produces character, and character produces hope. And hope does not put us to shame, because God's love has been poured into our hearts through the Holy Spirit who has been given to us." Look at that again. Our sufferings produce endurance, and endurance produces character, and character produces hope. Nothing in there said it would be easy. Nothing in there said it would be a snap of the fingers. Nowhere in there did it say that you weren't going to have troubles. It clearly says the opposite. Everybody on this earth is going to have to suffer because it is a fallen world. So we have a choice in how we respond to those sufferings. Do we choose to endure, or do we choose to do what's easy? Now, I'm going to go off script here from what Paul says. I truly believe no matter what you choose, door number 1, enduring, or door number 2, doing what's easy, you're building character. You just have to ask yourself, is it the character you really want in the end? Because the more we begin to do what's easy, the more it becomes part of who we are. The more we begin to do what's difficult, to take a challenge head on, to be these Disney characters that we grew up watching, to be these people that we see in the movies that grab the bull by the horn and they take off charging. Those are developed. For us to be those types of Christians, to be the Pauls, to be ultimately a Peter, to be somebody who was willing to stare the challenge in the face and to run for it, to be a Stephen, despite knowing what would happen, was stoned for his faith. That's from developing an endurance, a desire to drive, and that running made them who they were because they were running towards Christ. And when that character is developed, then your hope is what will power you. Your hope, your knowledge, your love, your understanding, that looking forward, that looking up to God. We started talking about kind of the theme and the vision and whatnot for our church and everything. One of the first things I thought about when we were talking about reaching up was just the simple word of hope. When we have that hope, when we have that not wishful thinking, but that confident thinking towards God, how does it change our day to day? How does it give us that energy of running the race? I'm going to reference this one. I'm not going to have you turn there, but Hebrews 12:1 talks about how we are surrounded by a cloud of witnesses. There's an importance to this family. We're not having these gatherings each month just for us to come together and do something fun. I tell the kids all the time, I am not an event planner. I'm a minister. There's a purpose to everything that I do. If I wanted to be an event planner, I could go and be an event planner and make triple the money. There's more to that. We are a group of witnesses. We are surrounded by one another. And what Hebrews is talking about in that verse is shedding off that shame. Be willing to admit, what is your struggle right now? What is going on? How can I help you walk? I've said several times in my sermon, and I say it to the kids a lot, 3 purposes. I truly believe God automatically gives us 3 purposes. To go and to seek the lost and to share truth with them. To glorify God. But the one I usually put in the middle is this. Part of my purpose is to encourage you, to encourage all of you, to encourage us as a body to grow closer to Him. So when you're struggling, but I'm standing pretty firm, I can dip my shoulder underneath and help support you up. Your job when I am struggling, when I am down, when I'm just like maybe crawling on the floor moving forward, you can give me a hand up. You can help me. Because we are all trying to endure together. I do want you to look at 2 Peter, though. 2 Peter chapter 1. Like we saw Paul kind of give a system of this, and this kind of leads to this, and this brings about this. Peter does a similar thing in chapter 1. We're going to start reading at verse 3. His divine power has granted to us all things that pertain to life and godliness. Okay? God's divine power has granted us what we need through the knowledge of him who called us to his own glory and excellence, by which he has granted to us his precious and very great promises, so that through them you may become partakers of the divine nature, having escaped the corruption that is in the world because of sinful desire. Look at verse 5 now. For this very reason, make every effort to supplement your faith with virtue, and virtue with knowledge, and knowledge with self-control, and self-control with steadfastness, and steadfastness with godliness, and godliness with brotherly affection, and brotherly affection with love. Now, it's not necessarily a building thing. He's talking about supplement these things together. You've got a really good faith going right now. Add in this knowledge. Build on that understanding. Build on that confidence. You got that knowledge. Let that fuel your faith. But let's throw in virtue. Let's throw in self-control. Let's throw in steadfastness. Let's take these things and be growing. Let's supplement where we are weak. Right now, because of this journey I'm on with this weight thing, I am limited on what I can eat. A lot of people hear what I'm taking in. They're like, oh, so you're keto. And I'm like, no, I'm not keto, because I do take supplements provided by these nutritionists who have studied this, and it has carbs in it. I've not rejected carbs from my life. I just can't be trusted to take them in myself. I'm being supplemented. They're telling me that there's numerous options for protein out there in the world. But I don't need all that animal protein. It's part of what got me here. There are certain vegetables where I can't eat what's in them, though they are packed with protein. So you know what they did? They supplemented me with some protein. We got to be able to admit when we are weak in certain places. We got to be able to admit when we don't have that self-control. We got to surround ourselves with that cloud of witnesses, and let's supplement. Let's be okay with that word. Let's be okay with that need. The two of them that are back to back that I really wanted us to focus on is verse 6. Self-control and steadfastness. Self-control can be very good, and it can be very hard. As I started this out today, talking about my strong will, when you are too steadfast, when you have too much self-control, you can kind of get yourself into, this is the track, this is what I'm on, this is what I'm doing. Sometimes we don't allow change to come in. But a lot of times I say self-control can be hard, because if I asked y'all in here today, who here has desires, you would all raise your hands. Because we all do. We all have things that are pulling us in these different directions. The place I want to land today is Matthew 10. Matthew 10. It's a sentence. You could say it's not much. To me, I think it's everything. But Matthew 10. If you look at Matthew 10 and verse 22, I want to start midway through at the word but. I'm going to read you that complete sentence, midway through 22, starting with the word but. It says, but the one who endures to the end will be saved. He says this here in chapter 10. And if you want to mark it, he says it again in chapter 24, verse 13, when he's talking to them about how persecuted they will be, how hard this is going to be. But the one who endures to the end will be saved. There is a very good chance that I can drop all this weight. I can be a great example of physical health here in the world and start traveling the world, doing circuits and talks, and you can do it too. I could be that guy, and a bus could still hit me. Okay? When he's talking about those who endure will be saved, it's from the spiritual war that we are in. It is great to respect and honor this temple. That's how I got to where I'm at right now. Me acknowledging that I personally had a problem and I personally need to do this. This is not a sermon to you, all of you, to figure out those things. This is me saying I went on a journey because it was affecting me spiritually. And I have to endure spiritually. I have to keep fighting spiritually. I have to persevere. That has to be my mindset. Yes, it is the day-to-day. Let's just do this meal. Let's get this done. Let's take this step. Let's go on this journey. But any of you that have ever ran and you're looking at your feet, there's a good chance you're going to run into a pole. So though I'm conscious of my steps every step of the way, my perseverance is because I'm set on a goal. I'm set on where I want to be. And it gets very hard to endure when all we focus on is the hard moment here and now. It gets very hard for us to persevere, to remain steadfast, when all we do is focus on this one thing. But when we are looking, when we are reminded by this cloud of witnesses around us, these people that are our family, that are walking with us, that love us, not here to judge. We're here to support. We are here to call out. Don't get me wrong there. We are to help each other. But it's all done in love. It's all done in respect. It's all done with the idea that we are going to endure. We are going to be steadfast. So what does this mean for you guys? What does this mean for us? What does this mean moving forward for 2020? A lot of people, this one-handed thing, I used to be better at it. It's 30, it's coming. So many people out there are looking at the 2020 and they're focusing on the playoff 2020 vision, and they're running towards that. And there's a lot of people looking at the Olympics. Honestly, like every camp I'm working with is like, yeah, in that vision of God, or we're going to run the race. And those are great. We should do that. I don't want that to be your 2020 mantra. I want yours to be persevere. When you have decided whatever it is, even if it's today, I'm making this change because it's spiritually affecting me, I want your word to be persevere. I want your word to be step by step, as we sing about. But I want you looking towards the end. I want you to remember what is waiting for you at the end of your life. Not death, though it will happen. It's the reward. It's finally getting to be with the man that you said, I love you so much, I'm giving up my life to you. It is mine no more. And I'm going to persevere. I'm going to stand strong. And if I get knocked off my feet, I'm going to turn to a brother, I'm going to turn to a sister, and I'm going to ask for help. And I'm going to get up, and I'm going to start walking again. Might have to dust off a little bit. That's okay. We're going to keep moving. So for those of you that have already said, you are mine, and I am mine no more, that may be you today. You may have been knocked down. Sin may just be piling on top of you, and we just need you to throw that hand up, and we'll come over and we'll start helping remove. We'll start helping you see. We'll start getting you back towards Christ, because he is the one that has already lifted that weight from you. But we'll help you see it. Maybe you've not made that choice yet today. Maybe you're still looking, you're still waiting. Maybe you're just not, maybe you've not been sure. Maybe there's some questions you have. There are plenty of people in this room that are willing to say, I will sit with you and I will help answer any question you have. If I don't know, we'll study it together because clearly I need to study it too. And that's okay. Or maybe you're confident today and you just haven't made the jump. Maybe you're afraid of what does life look like after baptism? Because I get it. I'm not always the perfect example. We can help you with that today. We can help you make the step. We can help you persevere day after day because that's what families do. That is why we gather together. Amen.